Princess blouses are much in vogue, fulfilling both conventional as well as contemporary requisites in terms of fashion. You can pair them with a heavy sari or choose to go light. This blouse design can make even the boring saris look regaling. So if you have a function coming up, here's a step-by-step tutorial you can follow to stitch your own blouse. In this tutorial, you will learn template marking and fabric cutting, preparing the back and the front pieces, joining them together by stitching the shoulders, attaching the piping and bias strip to the neckline, joining the main and lining fabric, preparing the sleeves and attaching them, finishing the side seams and attaching the zipper, and finally hemming the bottom and finishing the neckline. For this you will need 1 meter of printed fabric for the blouse, 1 meter of matching fabric for the lining, templates for the princess blouse which you can download from our website www.ushasew.com, chalk, pair of scissors, matching thread, 2 meters of matching piping, beaded pins, scale, Usha Janomi piping foot, 8-inch concealed zipper, Usha Janomi zipper foot, hook and eye set and hand needle. Step 1. Template marking and fabric cutting. Take a stylish fabric of your choice that will match your sari and open it completely. Now fold the fabric in half lengthwise, right side facing the right side. This will be our right side. Now let's place the princess blouse templates downloaded from www.ushasew.com on the fabric. We'll start with the 2 templates that are marked as front. Then place the back and the sleeves. Ensure that you place the first front template on the fold as indicated. The back template will come on fold as well. Now, let's pin all these templates in place with some beaded pins. Ensure that while you are pinning, the pins are going through both the layers of the fabric. After you are done pinning all the pieces, we'll have to trace these templates onto the fabric. For that, use a piece of chalk. Steadily mark all the templates. Be extra careful on the curves and edges. Remember to mark all notches and points for the darts onto the fabric. After you are done marking, unpin the templates one by one. While unpinning, ensure you place the pins back in the pin cushion to avoid any injuries. After you are done unpinning, keep the templates aside. We'll repin the fabric to ensure that it stays steady while we are cutting out our templates. Use about 1 to 2 pins per piece to keep the fabric steady. Then take a pair of scissors and begin cutting. Start off with the front pieces and steadily make your way to the back piece and then the sleeve. After you are finished cutting the pieces, take the lining cloth and repeat the same process again. You should have 2 pieces of each of the templates, one being the main blouse fabric and the other the lining fabric. Step 2. Creating darts on the back. Let's work on the back template first. Take the main fabric off the back as well as the lining fabric for it. You can see the 2 notches and 1 dot that we have marked for the darts. Join the points with a ruler to form a triangle. We will need to create this on the left side of the back pieces as well. To do this, take a pin and mark the center dart point at the back by inserting the pin through both the layers of the fabric. Then at the edge, align the fabric and create notches at the bottom where the points are. Join the center point and these notches with a ruler as well. Now we have a dart at the right as well as the left part of the back piece. Repeat the same process for the lining material as well. Now let's take the fabrics to our Usha Wonder Stitch Plus sewing machine. We will now stitch the darts for one side of the main fabric. Open the fabric and match the notches as shown. Align the folded line under the presser foot. Before you start sewing, ensure that the pattern selector dial is set to A, which is for straight stitches, and the stitch length is set to 2.5. Sew steadily and precisely on the line. Do reverse stitches at the start and the end. After you are done, we'll repeat the same process for the dart on the other side. Match the notches and sew on the line. Don't forget to do a round of reverse stitches. Now flip the material and gently press on the stitches to flatten them out. Repeat the same process of stitching the darts on the lining fabric as well. Once you are done, gently press on the stitches to create creases. Keep the back pieces aside. Step 3. Preparing the front of the blouse. Bring out all the front pieces. This will be our main fabric and this will be the lining fabric. As you can see on the main fabric, we have created a marking with the help of the template. Create a notch there as shown in the tutorial. Similarly, create a notch on the second part of the main fabric as well. Pinch and cut. Repeat the same process for both the lining pieces. Now remove the pins from the main fabric and open them. Arrange them like shown in the tutorial. You should have one center portion and two small portions which form the sides. Match the notches on both the fabric and place the second part over the first like shown. Right side facing the right side. Pin this in place. We have to pin the rest of the fabric till the armhole. Pin the edges like shown. Repeat the process on the other side as well. Match the notches and pin the fabric in place. Then align the rest of the edges and pin them. If you open both the pinned parts gently, it should look like this from the front and the back. Similarly, we'll arrange and pin the lining fabric. Both your pinned fabrics should resemble this. Now let's sew the pieces. First, we'll work on the main fabric. Align one of the pin sides under the presser foot and begin sewing. Take the pins out as you make your way down. The stitches should look like this. Now we'll sew the other side. Take the pins off and start sewing. As you can see, we've sewn on both sides. Keep the main fabric aside and let's work on the lining fabric now. Like the main fabric, we'll join the pieces of the lining fabric together as well. Don't forget to do a round of reverse stitches at the start and end every time you do straight stitches to secure your stitches in. After you are done, we have to create notches on the seam allowance to ensure that the circular fabric sits well when worn. While creating notches, ensure that you don't cut over the stitches. We have to create notches on both the lining and the main fabric. As you can see, our front pieces are joined and ready. Now we have to iron over our stitches to ensure that our seams set well and look more polished and professional. Iron on both the front and back side of the main fabric. While ironing the back, open the excess seam allowance and iron. Do the same for the lining fabric as well. Be mindful of your hand while ironing and keep a safe distance. Step 4. Joining the front and back pieces by stitching the shoulders. Once you are done, lay out the front pieces like shown and place the back pieces over them, right side facing the right. We have to now sew the shoulders of the main fabric to attach the back and the front pieces together. Pin the shoulders together with beaded pins. Repeat the same process for the lining fabric. Take the pieces to the Usha Wonder Stitch Plus and begin sewing the shoulders of the main fabric first. Align the shoulder with the edge of the presser foot and sew. Don't forget to do reverse stitches at the start and at the end. Remove the pin and do the same on the other shoulder as well. Once we are done with the straight stitches, we will have to do zigzag stitches over the shoulder to avoid frayed edges. Set the pattern selector dial to C and stitch length to 1.5 and sew over the shoulders again. We don't need reverse stitches while doing zigzag stitches. Your final stitches should look like this. Repeat the same process for the lining fabric. Our finished stitches should look like this. Step 5. Attaching the piping and the bias facing to the neckline. As you can see, we've already stitched the shoulders on both the main and the lining fabric. Open both the pieces and place the main fabric over the lining fabric. Wrong side facing the wrong side. Match the shoulders on both sides and pin them in place. For the neck finishing, Bring out the piping and a bias strip. For preparing a bias strip, you can visit the tent dress tutorial on our website www.ushasew.com. Fold the bias strip into half. Overlap the bias strip over the piping and place them on the right side of the neckline. We'll be sewing it in place. Bring the fabrics to your machine, replace the regular presser foot with the piping foot and lock it in place. Reset the pattern selector dial to A for straight stitch and stitch length to 2.5. Leave a little bit of extra piping and bias strip at the start and begin sewing. Ensure you stitch all the layers. Keep adjusting as you go. Do this all across the neck. Just before you reach the end, fold the extra piping and the bias strip at the start and place the ends over them so that there's an overlap and sew over it. After you sew over the overlap, pause and cut up the extra facing and piping. Step 6. Joining the main fabric and lining together. Post the neckline, replace the piping foot with the regular presser foot and lock it in place. Next, we will sew the lining and the main fabric together. Match the ends and begin sewing. When you reach the corner, use the pivoting technique by keeping the needle in the fabric and turning the fabric. Slowly and steadily sew on all sides. Be careful on the curves and ensure you use a steady hand to get neat stitches. Cut the excess thread. Once you are done, your stitches should look like this. Step 7. Preparing the sleeves. Next on the list is the sleeves. Unpin the fabric. We have to hem the edge of the sleeve. Take a fancy or a matching piping for this. Now open the sleeves and place the lining over them, right side facing the right side. Now place the piping strip in between the main and lining fabric along the bottom allowance and pin all three of them together like shown in the tutorial. Cut the piping at length and repeat the same process on the other sleeve. Be extra careful while pinning. Cut the extra piping again. Now we have to stitch over the marked area so that when we flip the sleeve, it'll look like this. Take your pin sleeves to your sewing machine and for piping, replace the regular presser foot with the piping foot and lock it in place. Align the pinned edge of the sleeve with the foot and begin sewing. Remove the pins as you sew. For a more detailed tutorial on how to use the piping foot, visit our website www.ushasew.com. Do the same for the other sleeve as well. The stitches should look like this on the wrong side. But we aren't done yet. Turn the fabric around to the right side and we have to do an edge stitch over the piping to make it pop. Begin sewing and make your way down slowly and steadily. Do the same on the other sleeve as well. After you are done, we have to now stitch the lining fabric to the main fabric by sewing all the open edges. Replace the piping foot with the A foot and lock it in place. Align the edge of the sleeve with the presser foot and begin sewing. Do this in one complete stitch using the pivot technique. Repeat the same process on the other sleeve as well. Your stitches should look like this. As you can see, we've stitched the piping and joined the fabrics together. Step 8. Attaching the sleeves. Just to recap, we've done the neck piping and have stitched the lining and the main fabric together. Next, we have to attach the sleeve to the armhole. We've already created a notch at the center of the sleeve. Match that to the center of the shoulder. Place the sleeve over the fabric, right side facing the right side, and pin it in place. After pinning the center, pin the entire sleeve around the armhole. Ensure that the pins are going through all the layers of the fabric. Repeat the same procedure on the other sleeve as well. Pin the center and then proceed pinning the entire sleeve. Take the pinned fabric to your machine and begin sewing the sleeve to the armhole. Remove the pins as you continue sewing. Slowly and steadily make your way towards the other end. After you are done, sew the other sleeve as well. Time to do zigzag stitches over the sleeves. Change the settings for zigzag stitches and re-sew over the edges. After you are done with one sleeve, do zigzag stitches over the other sleeve as well. Your stitches should look like this. Step 9. Finishing the side seams and attaching the zipper. As you can see, we've attached the sleeves. Now we have to work on the side seams. Match the armholes together and pin them in place and then proceed to pin the sleeves and one side of the blouse as well. On the left side of the blouse, we'll be attaching a concealed zip. Firstly, join the armholes and pin the sleeves portion. The zip will be attached below the armhole. Since it's a concealed zip, place the right side of the zipper on the right side of the fabric like shown in the tutorial. Pin one side of the zipper to the front of the blouse and the other side to the back of the blouse as shown. Let's start sewing the right side seams of the blouse. Reset the machine to straight stitches and begin sewing from the bottom of the blouse. Make your way to the sleeves. Your stitches should look like this. Now let's move to the left side. Before that, measure 1.5 inches from the armhole and create a marking. This marking will include the end point of the zip. Start sewing from the sleeve and make your way towards the armhole. Sew till the 1.5 inch marking and stop. This is how the stitches will look like. Next, we have to work on attaching the zip. For this, replace the regular foot with the Usha Janome zipper foot and lock it in place. Open the zip and align one side of the pin zipper under the presser foot and begin sewing. Have a steady hand and ensure the zip is attached in a straight line. After you are done, sew the other side as well. Remove the pins as you sew. We have to add in one more stitch. Open the teeth of the zip and sew as close to the zipper teeth as possible without disrupting the zipper movement to lock it in place. This will ensure a secured zipper attachment. This will be done on both the sides of the zipper. Cut off any extra threads. As you can see, we've attached the zipper to the blouse. Now, again replace the zipper foot with the regular foot and lock it in place. It's time to do zigzag stitches over the side seams. Reset the pattern selector dial to C and stitch length to 1.5 and start sewing from the sleeves. When you reach the zipper, open the two seam allowances. Do separate stitches for both sides of the zipper. It may seem like a repetitive process, but trust us, zigzag stitches add a superior finish to all your creations and avoid fraying of the edges. Don't the sides look much neater now? Check your zipper and at the end, leave a bit of extra zip and cut off the rest. Step 10. Finishing the bottom hem of the blouse. Next, we will work on hemming the bottom of the blouse. For that, we will take a bias strip. Fold it in half and it will be stitched on the right side of the blouse. Bring the blouse to your sewing machine. Open the zipper and place the folded bias strip on the right side of the blouse like shown in the tutorial. Align it to the edge of the presser foot and begin sewing. Go all the way across. Keep folding and adjusting the bias strip. Once you reach the end, cut the thread. As you can see, we've stitched the bottom hemline. Now cut off any extra threads. Your final stitches should look like this. Next, cut off the extra strip, leaving half an inch extra. We will now fold the edge of the bias facing on the inside and fold the bottom of the facing also on the inside like shown. We will now hand hem across the entire bottom of the blouse. Ensure the strip is placed correctly and your stitches are neat. After you are done, add a hook at the bottom of the zip and sew it in place. A hook is very crucial for securing the opening and avoids the zipper to open on its own. Don't forget to sew its eye as well on the opposite side. Almost done. Step 11. Finishing the neckline. Turn the blouse inside out and let's work on the final step, which is hemming the neckline. Fold the bias strip inwards onto the wrong side and sew it in place by hand. Sew over the entire bias strip. Your handiwork should look like this. Our blouse is now ready. Stylish, versatile and beautiful. You can't wait to flaunt it during the wedding season. Show us the photos of your creations in the comments below. And if you like this tutorial, don't forget to like and share with your friends.